Yay! We're here. We're live. Yay!
Hello.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody, to the very first episode of Lighten Your Load. I'm Tracy Grumman.
And I'm Jinnie Cristerna. Howdy, howdy.
Howdy, howdy. And we are so happy to be here. I guess, Jinnie, we could probably just start off by telling people about ourselves so that they start to get to know who we are. And a little bit more about what we do, and then we will launch into how we got here in the first place. How does that sound?
Oh, I love it. I don't know if I have a bottle of wine open, but okay, we can we can start there.
I wish I had a bottle of wine open. I think we need to do that next time. Maybe we just need to start adding that into the mix.
No, but it's all good though. It's all good.
It is. Okay, so why don't you start off?
Okay, so
tell me about you.
Everyone. I am Jinnie Cristerna. I am the owner of International High Achievers, and I do a lot of psychotherapy that's clinical. I do a lot of transpersonal psychotherapy, so more spiritual psychotherapy with my clients who tend to be traders, attorneys, doctors, their families, some athletes, and it's been a ton of fun. Yeah, so I'm out here in Chicago hanging out, Tracy. It's supposed to be road visit, doing a road trip to come visit me one of these days. It's going to happen soon. So
it is.
She's my soul sister. You're my soul sister. So, hey, we're always connected. But yeah, I do a lot of work with folks here in Chicago, and they'll come in from across the country, and, we'll cut some cords and heal that inner child and let go of a whole bunch of pain, in 2-3 days, and they're all good. They go back home all nice and happy. So that's what I do.
I'll feel sparkly and shiny.
That's right. They're sparkly and shiny with a little bit of spice.
Thank God, right? Though, I mean, really, that's just of course we want to be happier. We want to be happier. We want to be healthier. We want to move into a space where we don't want to rip people's heads off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the goal.
Right.
Sometimes we have moments, though. We have tendencies, but we're working through them. So I help people work through those tendencies.
And you learn a little bit about yourself along the way, right?
Oh, I learned a ton about myself. Oh my goodness. Yeah, a ton that I'm going to talk about a little later, because I want people to know what you do and how sparkly awesome you are as well. So tell the folks, Miss Sparkle.
Miss Sparkle. So I'm Tracy Grumman. I'm the Queen of Sparkle. Queen of Sparkle land, maybe. But I'm an intuitive and life transformation consultant, and I help clients step into the lead role of their life. They know that something's missing. They know they hear an inner call. They ignore the inner call for quite some time, and it quite honestly just starts eroding their being, and they finally hit a crossroads. And when they hit the crossroads is usually when they find me, and I help them heal and grow and shift perspectives so that they can actually step into what they want to do, versus what they should do or what they think other people expect of them. It's usually stepping outside the norm to create something, to really create the life that they want. So I do that. Jinnie and I, we talk about ourselves being the shadow hunters, and we really are. We help people look at the perspectives that have been holding them back, because at the end of the day, that's really what this is about. We grow up with certain mindsets and certain beliefs, and what starts happening is our soul starts pushing for another way. I like to call it life tweaks. Sometimes it's full-on changes, but many times it's a shift. It's a tweak and a perspective so that you can look at it, take it like a little globe and start spinning it around and looking at it. So when we can honor a new perspective, what happens is then we can let go of the crap that has been holding us back, and we can really then step into what we want to do and let go of the shoulds, the coulds, the woulds, the have-tos, and the what-ifs. So that's it. I love doing it. I love doing this kind of work. And it's changed my life completely. I started down the path just like all of my clients. And so, I don't know if, Jinnie, you see that a lot of clients kind of, I don't want to say mimic your story, but, I certainly attract a lot of clients who kind of have the similar struggles that I've had in the past. So it's something that I know I've lived through. And not only can I apply the energetic tools that I've learned along the way, but I completely identify with it because I've been there.
Absolutely. A lot of my clients, they'll come and, I've just noticed over 25 years that there's a certain resonance with the people who come into me and who connect well with me, because they are in places that I've either been or visited for a little bit.
Yeah, right.
And get out of. And so I look at all of the experiences that I've had in my life as preparation for the clients that I'll be working for and working with. So there's this interesting way that people enter our lives and we experience things. And it's usually so we can help someone who's going through it come out of it. At least that's been my experience. So when my clients come to me, they're like, oh, you really get me. And it's like, I really do. It's not that we're exactly the same, because their experience is always unique, but there's definitely an understanding that doesn't need to be explained by my clients. So they actually get through their work a lot more quickly. They start to forgive and let go. That healing environment, that connection with trust is there pretty quickly. So I would agree with you. Yeah, you kind of go through the work. You do the work before your clients get there, so you can help it, help that process become easier for them. So.
Well, and at least in my experience, and if you agree, definitely let me know that as we do our own work, we just become even better to be able to help and serve and shift on a quicker basis.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and our families grow like that. What I love is the fact that the work that I've done, not only has it helped me just boom explode, and it's helped my clients boom explode their lives, but the overspill of everybody in my inner circle and how they grow and they shift and they meld, and they're like, I see my kids walking into their life and who they're meant to be and what their inner calling is now. And how cool is that? Like, how cool is that to be able to shift ourselves and have everybody have the peg move for everybody?
Yeah, this is kind of where my path was a little interesting. And this is where I actually ended up being kind of, just dropped on my path, because, when I do a lot of Rohan therapy. I do heart center hypnotherapy, Yandi and Rohan with my clients. And what I've noticed with them is when they shift their vibration up, when that life experience comes and kind of knocks them off their pins, like it did for me, and you shift up, there is this thing that ripples out from you that changes everyone in your circle. It changes your life. Everyone either starts to shift up with you, or those people who don't want to or not ready to because it's not their time yet, they start to fall away, and you have more room for wonderful things in your life to enter. The things that you've been wanting start to come to you just effortlessly. So absolutely. I mean, it's just an amazing experience when you start to march to the beat of your own drum, listen to your intuition, and follow your heart in a way that makes good sense for you. I mean, my kids are really starting to shift. My husband has shifted. My clients shift a lot more quickly as well, because it's one of those things where, I know what this journey is going to be like, generally speaking, and for them to have someone who knows what that process is like and can guide them through it, that just makes it so much easier for them as well. So absolutely, I agree with you.
Oh, it's so true. I mean, so what do we talk a lot about shifting a vibration, and for us, it's like, you might as well be talking about just a part of life. We understand what shifting vibration is. But a lot of people that I talk to are just dropping into the realization that we're energetic beings, that we ourselves are our own vibration, and the concept that all of our negative life experiences have kind of like thrown a veil on top of it. And so I don't know if you've experienced this, but I'm having a lot of people that are just recently coming to this realization that they're just learning this year that they're energetic beings, and that this magical thing called a vibration as it changes and as it shifts and as it lightens and as it becomes freer, you know, you then start to attract and create the experiences that you want. So I explain the concept of vibration to how we feel about ourselves and what we think that we deserve. And as we start to step into knowing that our inner call deserves to be answered, it's like a gear shift. We automatically shift. We remove a veil of something that's been holding us back, and we basically start to shine our inner light outward so that we can really start attracting and gaining momentum towards the creating what we want and how we want to feel. And so how do you explain vibration to people?
Well, I tell everyone that ask me what that really means. I said, well, you know what? It's energy. So, you know, they just found and validated string theory, right? Everything has its own vibration. It moves at its own level. And then whatever is around that type of vibration, you know, kind of gathers towards it. So when I talk to prospective clients and my current clients, I help them understand you are love. You came from love. You are that no matter what happens to you in your life, you are love. Now, what happens when you're born is that our experiences and our feelings cover up that. And so we spend a good chunk of our lives peeling those layers off, looking to get back to the love that we are, starting to remember who we really are, because we are not human beings having this, you know, spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings and we're having a human experience. And so you get a chance here in the Earth School, if you will. You get an opportunity to try different things, to do different things. And I tell people, when your life isn't going the way you want it to, that's because there in each chakra is like a file drawer. It's like a system. And so it holds these faulty thoughts, or all your thoughts. But if most of your thoughts are faulty thoughts, you're going to attract experiences that validate those faulty thoughts. Just like if your chakras are open and it's holding the truth of who you are, which is love and being worthy and having courage and all these other wonderful things, you're going to attract experiences just like that to validate those thoughts. So when you start to have these negative experiences in your life that you're just wondering where they're coming from, there's a faulty thought in there that's being validated, because that's what happens. That's what we do. That's our energy. So if you want to shift that, right, you start to peel back those layers. You look at those faulty thoughts. You identify them first and where they come from. You look at them, you release them, you let them go, you replace them with something healthy, and you start to notice that different experiences start to happen. You'll start to have different experiences, and you'll attract different type of people and experiences as well. So that's how I explain vibration to folks.
Which I think is great. I mean, I think that that's a lovely way to explain it, because I think I know we've forgotten where we've come from. And the whole point of this journey is to actually get back to remembering exactly who we are and exactly where we came from, and then taking all of that information and walking on our path so that we can share it with people. You know, not everyone's going to like it, and that's all right, but we attract the experiences. And as we become lighter and we remember who we are, basically the drama starts lifting away. I don't know about you, but I don't really have a ton of drama.
Girl, child, now we're about to get into some good stuff. So yeah, I'm going to tell you, if you want to get rid of the crazy folks in your life, you know, open up and shift. Because when you are really drawn to those people, or those people are really drawn to you, there's something inside of you that is pulling them in your direction. So you want to identify what that is, because if there's one thing I know to be true, water meets its level. That doesn't mean you're a drama person. It just means that those are the experiences, and there's some faulty thoughts that you're holding that draws that to you, that attracts that to you. So you have the power. Once you realize that, oh, this is what's going on with me, you now have the power to change that. And everybody that I come across, they're looking for power to change their lives and transformation. But you have to accept responsibility for being the one who can do that in order for any of that to happen. So if you have all those drama-filled people, I call them, you know, my bless their heart folks, and you really want to have a different child. Let me tell you.
I like to call them pains in the asses myself, but isn't
You
that
know,
such a nice way to look
Tracy, don't get us started. We're live now. We're gonna.
but this is what people want to see. People want to see real life. We know our shit. We know our shit. We know that we can help the people that come to us. But let's get into the nitty gritty, right? Because at the end of the day, I mean, really, everyone has their human side. I mean, I told my son that it must be asshole day on the road today, and I was like, oh, that's nice. I mean, because really, they were all over the place, and what are you going to do? And it is true. I don't know about you, but I think it would probably be a great time to launch into our own stories. And for me, getting rid of the drama was realizing that I wasn't put on this earth to fix everybody. I grew up the mediator, and I grew up the fixer, and being very empathic, I was able to harness and understand everyone's needs and meet them before they even knew what they needed.
Mm-hmm.
So basically I could get away of any type of energetic explosions or anything like that. And when I finally realized I wasn't put on this earth to fix anybody, I was put on this earth to heal myself and then move from that space, all of a sudden, like, everything just changed and transformed. I didn't have all of the people looking to try to take advantage of me anymore because I wasn't allowing it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you, but that's where I was. I mean, really, the moment that changed my life was in 2012 when I realized I was not put on this earth to live somebody else's dream and fix them and make them happy. Like, that wasn't my main job. The best thing I said, and I, if everybody has the experience of doing it, I say to them, hallelujah. But the best thing I said was, I don't want to live your dreams anymore. I want to go live my own.
Wow.
And I said that to, that was huge. And when I tell you, the person I said it to, it was a boss and I thought, friend of mine. Well, at the time, I guess she was. I said it and she flew through the roof, like banging on the desk, like flying crazy person, so angry that I had just hit that point where I was like, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore and I don't want to live your dreams.
Well, of course she's going to be upset
because,
of course she's going to be upset because now she has to do her own stuff.
Well, exactly. I always say when you change the rules of the game, someone's going to get pissed.
That's right. And that's okay. And that's what I tell a lot of people. It's okay that they're upset with you. They're supposed to be. That's how they shift as well.
Yeah. I mean, so my shift happened when I finally answered the call. I had felt very blah about my job, about what I was doing with my career life, not as a mom, not as a wife, but in my world, my major shift happened when I decided that I didn't want to live somebody else's life anymore. I was actually slowly killing myself because I was overworking myself and just to be helpful. And I did. I finally was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to live your dream. I want to go live my own. And I don't know what that is. And what happened on the heels of that was a form of a collapse, because every time you make a decision to step forward, something has to fall away. And for me, it was that, I mean, like lightning fast. Within a week, it was all done. All my friends associated with that were gone. Like everything. I had my whole identity wrapped up in that job because I was really good at it. And it didn't make sense to me why it wasn't working anymore, but it just wasn't. And I was like, I have to answer the call. And that was the rebuilding process for me, because I lost all of my friends. I lost my whole social, like my girly social stuff, gone. And I really enjoyed it. So it was a rebuilding process to figure out how the fuck I was supposed to do this now. You know, what was I doing? What was I supposed to do?
That was your whole, you know? So of course you're like, what do I do? And it's like, well, now you can do what you want to do.
Right. And to be honest, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew that what I was doing wasn't working anymore. It wasn't working for me anymore. And it wasn't working for my health anymore. And I don't even know. It was like the pot slowly bubbled and the lid was on it for probably a couple of years. I really did ignore it. I ignored the call altogether. And I would get sick and I would feel unappreciated and I would be frustrated. And in order to get rid of those feelings, I would just do more. And finally I did in 2012. I just can't handle it anymore. I can't take it. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And I did. So then that was when I started actually going to Delphi in 2012. And what I basically had to do was go through all of the layers of all of the faulty thoughts and start really harnessing and removing and healing all of that so that I could really start attracting people into my life, friendships into my life who liked me for me.
Like me.
Like you, exactly. And I mean, how lucky am I, right? I mean, really, I always say my friend base is a lot more narrow now, but they're a lot more rock solid. And that's really what I found in 2012 is that this foundation I thought I had was just a paper house.
Yep. And and it's one of those things where when you really look back on it, you're like, oh my God, I'm so glad it happened. But as you're going through it, you're like, oh my God, what's happening? And so that's when you learn to have faith and trust the process. And I remember in my moment, the one moment that changed my life is, I don't know if this ever happened to you, but when I was about 6 or 7, I knew something was wrong with this place. I was just like, these people are crazier and nuttier than a squirrel's breakfast. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what's the problem, but I don't think this is normal. And so I would, just watch people and they would live, to your point, other people's dreams, or they would live out other people's fears. Parents gave their kids all kind of shadow that didn't even belong to them. So fear of the dark, fear of Black people, white people, Asian people, just fears and anger that, because, kids, we're loved when we're born. We're not born angry,
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah. It's been interesting. So I remember from a very young age, I'm like, this is not for me, but I will try to figure this out. And I remember the moment that changed my life is when I got divorced, and Spirit told me, don't marry him. And we have 3 beautiful children from that marriage, but it was very clear that he was not the person that I was supposed to marry. And a lot of it came from the belief that my parents had that if you had a baby, you got married. Doesn't matter what you need or what you want or what you learn. There was no learning. It was, this is what happens when you do that. So it's more punishment, and then you figure out how to make peace with it. It's very, very much very negative. And so when I couldn't take it anymore, and we just weren't for each other, and that's okay. We moved on, and it was a very painful process because instead of being angry with him and my parents and all these other people, I had to look at what role I played in that. And I'm going to tell you, to your point of losing your friends, I lost my entire freaking family. My family was like, and it was they were like, you are going to hell, and you are such a bad person, and you did this, and you did. And, at the end of the day, when I had space to think about it, what I realized is they weren't there for me during any of the marriage. It was just, you need to be married. And then they left, and they didn't have to sit with the stuff that went on. And they only showed up when things went bad to kind of beat me up about, well, why, just put up with it. And it's like, no, you marry him and you put up with that. And,
right.
Again, I'm in such a better place, and I respect him and love him for being the father of our 3 children. But I have let my family go, and, he and I are just not meant to be together, and that's okay. I learned a lot from him. He was a great teacher for me. I am remarried, and my husband currently and I have a really good relationship, and we are both looking to be better. We're very active in our personal work. So this is just a very different marriage, my current marriage, than my first marriage, because my first marriage was the marriage that people thought I should have. And that got me on the path, because it's like, I can't live like this. I literally thought to myself, Tracy, you guys are going to kill me. That was in my root chakra. That was my prison that I had to, in order for me to prove that I loved you, I had to sit in your hell with you. And it's like, no. When you decide to get out of hell, we can talk and have some coffee, but I don't have to, I can love you and not sit in hell with you. And do you know how many hells I was sitting in? I was sitting in at least 15 different people's hells. And no wonder I was miserable. No wonder, I felt sick all the time and I felt angry. So now, I'm working through that and I've let like a good chunk of it go. Haven't punched anybody in the throat in 12 years. I mean, it's good.
There you go. Right? See, bonus.
Progress. So, I mean, it's to your point, though, that, everything leaves you. And if you want to be a part of my life now, that's something that you have to earn. That's not something I give away anymore.
Isn't that true? It's funny. When I was younger, I didn't have a lot of friends. I think something having to do with not only being introverted and having just the childhood that I had, but then understanding that you do have all kids, they have special gifts that come through. And if you have a family that doesn't necessarily understand or support it, it's like a mouse in a box. It just gets whacked back down. So I didn't have a ton of friends. I had a couple of friends, but the one thing I really, really wanted was I wanted like the movie, right? Where you had a group of friends, and like Sex and the City, right? Where you have this group of friends that have your back and blah, blah, blah. That's what I wanted. And I mean, I also crafted a fantastic relationship with my husband and 3 beautiful children. That was something that has been in my life forever. What I didn't have was a group of friends. So when I started that job 10 years ago, well, it's more than that now, back in 2003, I automatically created this friend base of people. What I didn't realize is I created a friend base of people that for a while it fit. It was fine, and I could stay away from like any cattiness. I could kind of just remove myself from it because I was having fun. But I hit a point where all of a sudden the cattiness started ramping up, the competitiveness started ramping up, and I'm like, but this isn't me, And I said this to my son the other day, my oldest son. I said, you know what? I would rather have, now knowing what I know, knowing where I've been, how I've healed, where I'm at right this very second, I would rather have a super tight-knit circle of people that have my back rather than this whole friend base of people that would just leave you at the drop of a hat.
Girl, don't get me started, because I tell you, quality over quantity was the lesson that I learned above all. I would rather have one quality friend, one quality relationship that is supportive. And that doesn't mean, tell me everything I want to hear, but love me anyway, and love me enough to tell me that I'm wrong. Love me enough to show me how to help myself get better. I think a lot of times people look for folks who just say, oh, you're awesome, and this and this and that. And, they're small-minded, so they talk about each other behind one another's backs. And I learned the hard way that, you know what, that's not me. If that's what you guys want to do, that's okay. That's fine. Bless your heart. I'm not going to judge it. It's just not for me. And people have called me bougie and stuck up. And I said, okay, I get that. Because I know they're not saying that I'm bougie and stuck up. They're saying that there's something in me that they see that they can't own, whether that's good or bad. So I let it be, whatever.
Well, it is true, right? And, and it's funny because, and I don't remember who I even said it to recently. I said, so because I have standards and boundaries, that makes me stuck up. Because I have an expectation of not only how I treat people, but how I want to be treated. That makes me stuck up. Now, I don't know about you, but so back in 2012, when I made this decision and all of my friends fell away, and I immediately launched onto the path to start finding myself, basically is really what it was. I have not seen any of them. Now, we're still in the same city, and it's not a super big city. I was going to say,
you're like in the smallest city possible.
Yeah, I have not run into them in a store, like, at all. I mean, and now, of course, I'm saying this out loud. I'll probably run into one of them at the store. Whatever. But I have not run into them. I mean, how funny and odd is that the way the energy broke? So when relationships end, energy bonds break. There are sometimes cords that are still attached, but you have the basic energy bond is broken. The experience is over. Whatever was supposed to be derived out of the experience is done. The lesson's complete. But I have not run into them at all. And I just find it so funny that the energy broke the way it did. And this community that we're in isn't large, but we still haven't run into one another. It just is what it is.
And, you know, it's funny that you say that, because I think a couple of things happen when those cords are broken. Yeah, you just don't see each other. So it's not that we don't run into each other, but I just don't see you and you don't see me. And I'm sure you guys have crossed paths, because that's happened to me. And I've had people come up to me after the cords have been cut, because I've cut lots of cords, and they'll say that they're sorry, you know, or what have you. And I'm fine with that. I've done a lot of forgiveness. So of course I'm going to forgive you. You don't still get to come into my circle, but of course I forgive you. Of course I understand this is the best you could do at that time. And that's all anybody could do. That's why we're working on ourselves. And, you know, when you have those kind of relationships that end abruptly like that, and you're in these small places and you're like, the odds, it's statistically impossible for us not to bump into each other. My thing is, you guys probably cross paths and just don't see each other, because energetically you're not even in the same space.
Yep. So what, I know how you've grown, because, well, I know you, and you know, I know your story, and you know how I've grown. What, in that midst of the quagmire, because that first year is hard, of any type of change is hard. What was the hardest thing for you to come to terms with?
The hardest thing for me to come to terms with is that I'm alone. Like, when it's one thing to lose to lose friends, excuse me, because that's like your social, that's like the safety net, are your friends, you know. You don't have the kind of history you have with your family. I didn't have a lot of friends to begin with, similar to you. But my family, they're very much a herd mentality. Like, if you don't agree with what we think and how we raised you, then, you know, the devil's got you, and you're this horrible person. And it's like, oh, let me get my pitchfork out. But for me, when I lost my family, I truly felt alone. And that is the worst feeling in the world, to not even have your family support you or even call you to see what happened. And just immediately, because, you know, men are valued more in my family. There's, you know, men are better than, or whatever. And
Right.
so women are just, or girls are just kind of whatever, you're overlooked. You're supposed to be in this role. So for me, it was probably the equivalent of Dante's Inferno. You know, the ninth circle of hell is that loneliness. And what I learned at that moment in my life is that when I look around and see who's with me, those are the people I can count on, and it was me. So the only person that I can count on is me. And you know, my husband came along, and he's just amazing. And even then, it's not his job. He can walk with me, but he can't walk it for me. And so it was just an amazing experience as I look back on it, because a part of me is just wondering, how did I even get through that? And so when I do my own work now, because I continue to do my work for God knows how many years, and I'm going to continue to do it until I die. I had my session with my therapist today, and one of the beautiful things that came out of it was, you know, getting closer to the bedrock of the hurt and the pain, and pulling back more layers. And I'm so much more comfortable now being by myself. Family means something so different to me now. You know, we're all related. Energetically, that's probably the greatest tie. You know, spiritually, we're all one. But coming here and having those relationships, those blood relationships with people, mean absolutely nothing. There's a reason why karmically we're tied into certain families. And I have come to know and experience, as for myself, that you are here to teach me something in this family. I'm here to learn and teach you something in this family. And the people who have hurt me the most in this life loved me the greatest on the other side. That's the only reason they took on that role to hurt me. That's how I look at it. And as a human being, I love them and appreciate them for that. I also know that they have a journey here on this side that they need to complete. And sometimes we may or may not cross paths again as a family until we get to the other side. But either way it goes, I love them now. Unconditional love is probably the most wonderful gift that came out of that horrible experience of being alone. I would never wish that on anybody, not even my worst enemy. It's an experience unlike any other to utterly lose your family and your friends and sit in hell by yourself, not knowing when you're going to get out. But you find what you're made of because you get yourself out eventually.
So how long did it take you to ask for help from an external, not only from an energetic, spiritual source, oh God, help me, but how long did it physically take you to step outside and ask another human being to help you?
I've always been a big therapy person, so I've always been looking for therapists. So in my journey, I've found therapists that I like and found therapists that I learned from. And so ever since maybe like 16 years ago, I said I can't do this, because that's when I started to realize something when I was pregnant with my last child, something just wasn't right. And so, yeah, ever since then, I'm like, if I'm going to get through this and if I'm going to help my clients get through this, that I have to keep doing my work, because I can only take them as far as I can go. But definitely rock solid 16 years ago. And before then, I've been looking. But 16 years ago, I started to be intentional in saying, I want to find this kind of person. Mm-hmm. And I haven't stopped looking, and came across a wonderful community of healers. And so it's been amazing for me. What about you? I mean, when did you start looking for external help? Because you've done a tremendous amount of work as well.
Yeah, I have done a lot of work. I actually, asking for help was not something that I was taught. I basically was really not only taught that you stuff it in and figure it out on your own, but from an early age, I wasn't really taught that I could rely on anybody anyway. So I just tried to figure it out on my own. Now, in 2012, and in my family, there was a huge stigma around therapy. You didn't go to therapy. A weak person didn't go see a therapist. So in 2012, my first call to ask for help was to head down to Delphi and start doing that kind of healing. But because I'm so thick-headed, I didn't really realize, and I fully admit this, I didn't really realize that I was actually helping myself. I thought I was going down to Delphi because I was going to learn how to help other people. and I did, and I do. But what I didn't really seriously, there are some times where I'm like, God, you're really thick-headed. And it's okay. It's just part of what I know about myself. I of course spend a lot of time down at Delphi a couple of times a year. You do too. So we know how that goes. But I actually decided to start seeing a therapist on I actually do a piggyback, because I have a shamanic healer that I work with once a month. And then I have a therapist that I go see when I realize that there's something that I can't get through on my own. I can't find peace. It's like a cog, it's like the square peg in the round hole that I'm trying to jam it in. But I actually finally gave myself permission, and some people don't like when I say that, because they feel like, but we spend a lot of our time holding ourselves back on what other people will think about our decision. Finally, last year, I gave myself permission to be like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to see somebody, because I can't organize this information on my own, no matter if I'm going to see my shamanic healer or if I'm going down to Delphi. Like, I can't do it on my own. I need somebody that can be an objective party and take a look at it. I got lucky because my therapist actually does energy work as well. So it's very you know, as emotions are coming up, we can, you know, fly through and release the energy, and I can understand it on another perspective. So I got very lucky. I don't see him every month, but when I feel like I'm not organizing something the way I'd like to, I go pay him a visit, because I know that he's the type of person that isn't interested in some sort of long-term come see me every week thing. It's let's get you to the point where you're feeling really good about where you're at. And then when you feel like if you need to come back and see me, then you can. I mean, I went to go see him yesterday, and he's like, when do you think you need to come back and see me? I'm like, let's schedule it for a month. And if I feel like in a month things are fine, then I'll cancel it and I'll come to the next time. So I think that part of it is really admitting that. For me, it was not only, for me, it wasn't feeling alone because I was alone, because I wasn't really alone. For me, it was the realization that I had been continually looking outside of myself for other people to validate my existence and validate my worth. I wanted people to look at me and be like, oh my God, she's amazing. And if someone told me I was amazing, then I have to be amazing. So in 2012, when all of that fell away, I had to actually go on a discovery to find that I myself think I'm amazing. And understand that thank you. And you are too. But understanding that that's not a conceited statement, because that's how I was raised. You don't raise attention to yourself. You let other people validate you, because that's the way it goes. Otherwise you look arrogant. And so I had to set out on this path to really to validate myself, and to be able to have 2 feet in the sand saying, you might not dig me, but I do. And I'm okay with that.
That's a little meme right there. You might not dig me, but I dig myself.
But I do.
Put that up on the Tracy Roman page.
Ow!
And and it's so interesting, because as you were talking, Spirit is still connecting with me as always. And it was, in addition to underlying that loneliness, was abandonment, and I think that, because I see my Rohan therapist, she's amazing. Hello, Cheryl. Not that she's watching, she's probably seeing a patient, but she, she's able to, I'm kind of on this Rohan path of just, I'm ready to let it all go. And so being able to energetically cut those cords, because I can't even do mind-to-mind therapy anymore. It's going to make me nuts. I've done all I can do mentally to think about and understand my life. That has not changed very much or shifted within me very much. The feeling, like there's been a little release, I'll cry, but there's something when you do energy work that really releases that trauma or that negative experience from your body, because your body is still holding it. There's somatic markers. I mean, there's tons of research on it. And so, I was half joking when I said I haven't punched anybody in the throat. I've come a long way from like wanting to kill and putting my hands on people. Now, I don't do it in my head as much. Because I have a better way, we were at Delphi once. I was telling Janice, I said, we need to have a miracle board, because we need to be able to put up on the board what we feel is a miracle that has changed in our life since we've been here. And I said, I haven't killed anybody in my head in 3 days. And Janice just cracked up. She was just like, that is a miracle for you. And so it's, one of those things where energetically, when people start to realize you are holding the energy still, even though you have gone to psychoanalysis and psychotherapy it out, and it's still there, it's because you need to release it from your body. And so that energy is priceless.
Well, it's funny, right? Because a lot of the reason why people are looping is because they understand, they read or they go and talk about it, and they understand in their head what the outcome is or what the release should be. They understand it, but it's not, they haven't dropped down into their heart to actually be able to release the energy out of the chakras.
That's right. And because it's in our heart and it's in our chakra, in our bodies, you can left brain that all day. it's not going to release it the way you need to release it. It's just going to make you aware. It's going to make the unconscious conscious, and that's literally it.
Yeah.
Corrective emotional experience still comes out of a deep inner connection with the experience, acknowledging it, owning it, and then letting it go. So, and that happens very rarely in clinical work. And there's even debate around whether or not, you know, corrective emotional experiences are okay. And it's just like, you know what, come on, everybody. With my therapist colleagues, and, you know, they know I disagree with that. And I'm like, you know, I don't think we should fabricate an emotional experience for someone so we can correct it. But I think we should help clients connect with those parts of them in a Gestalt kind of way, and use a process that allows them to feel the emotion, to understand it, to have compassion for themselves in that time, and then to let it go. Send it up to something greater than them. Send it up to light. Have them learn how to love themselves again. So I think that there's a whole piece missing in clinical work. I think clinical work is amazing, and I still use a lot of it in my practice. But please know, we're gonna meet you wherever you are emotionally, and we're gonna heal that. So people who come into me, they know they're not just getting, you know, a Freudian or a Jungian or a Cohutian perspective. We're not going to just left brain it. We're going to start to activate that right brain and start to feel and know what's already been there. So,
well, and that's true, right? And I think one of the biggest, most interesting things, and then we can start wrapping up. I think one of the biggest, most interesting things that people don't realize is that your psyche will only allow what is meant or what is ready to be released.
That's right.
Like, I think some people look at things like it's so big and scary. You know, I don't want to uncover all of it. Well, it's really not that way at all. I mean, it really, you release what is ready to be released. And sometimes things happen where major realizations happen. And the only reason that's going on is because it's time for it to come out and release and be healed. And so I think that so many people get afraid that, oh my God, all these, you know, like everything's going to get uncovered all at once and I'm not going to be able to handle it. And I think that that's one of the most important parts. At least I know when I started, I was really worried about it, you know, about not being able to handle the process or it being too much. And it really does. Everything that is meant to come up comes up. So,
but you know what's wonderful about energy work? You realize how strong you are. That the reason that I love Rohan is because you find hypnotherapy and Yandi, you discover, you don't find it, but you discover how strong you really are. Totally. And you feel so much better about yourself. Your ego is so much healthier because you're like, oh wow, the sky didn't fall and I'm still here. I can do this.
It's like you're your own Indiana Jones.
I can't do this with you. In the Temple of Doom with the big rock coming behind you.
I'm telling you, you're running your ass down the thing and you're good. And all of a sudden you get out at the right time, you're good to go.
That's right. Your own action movie. You're the hero of your own movie.
You become the explorer. I mean, I think that when things are looked at with curiosity,
yes.
When we're looking at it with curiosity instead of through the eyes of fear, I mean, I know that part of my biggest jump has been understanding that, especially when you're looking at the child energy that needs to be healed, that you're not that kid anymore.
That's right. But because the energy is stuck there, we still have the experience of being that kid, and that's the problem.
I mean, and it can be really scary, especially if you have
your way out of that.
Yeah. Especially if you had trauma. So the one tip you would give somebody today to start on a path, especially a lot of people, I had said earlier today, and it is true, 2016 is kicking everyone's ass. You know, the energy is such that so much light is poured forth that everyone's shadows are coming to the surface. And if not only everyone's shadows, but the expectations of people, and people are getting knocked off the pedestals you've put them on, and you're, you know, seeing the undercarriage of things. And it's causing a lot of strife because people are having such a hard time dealing with the illusions being busted, because again, the illusions right now are their version of truth, right?
Yep.
What would be the one thing that you would recommend for somebody who's just had their illusion busted? What is the first thing that you would recommend to them to kind of start pointing them in the direction of being able to free themselves of the drama?
Get excited. As soon as your bubble is bursted and you are in dismay, get excited, because that moment right there, note the date and the time, because that was the moment your life changed. This is where you are supposed to learn something about who you really are. And it's more amazing than what you thought you were. So that's the moment to get excited. Note the date and time.
Nice. I love that. I love that. Mine is actually allow the total collapse to happen. Allow the crying and the screaming and the unfairness and all of the stuff that we tell ourselves. And that all of a sudden, when we start to feel that, an energy swoops in, like, oh, we shouldn't feel that way. Like it's not our place or whatever, to allow the collapse to happen. Because when we fully allow ourselves to collapse, clarity comes. Something new always emerges, whether it be a new perspective or something new. And I think that people don't, we're so afraid of the collapse. We've been so conditioned to have a stiff upper lip that we never really truly allow the collapse to happen. So we really don't get to the good part. You know what I mean?
That's
we
right.
have to be able to dip down like this to come back up and find, and it's in the dip where we actually hit the clarity so that we can start climbing back up again. And so I think that's true.
There's that Delphi saying that you can only go as high as you're able to go low.
Yep.
And so when you collapse, and I love what you were describing, because when you collapse, I promise you, that's called relief. You experience relief and you experience freedom, because now you have the ability to choose how you move forward. And there's nothing more greater for any one person on this planet than to exercise their right to choose. Shadow is not a bad thing. When we're shadow slayers and, you know, shadow seekers, and we are looking to take that shadow, bring it up to the light so you can see what it really is and take away from it what it's designed to teach you, because you split that part off from yourself. But it's here to teach you something. And shadow is beautiful once you allow yourself to face it. Don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. Your life will go so much better.
Yeah, and be willing to ask for help, because people know how to help you, and be willing to ask for help. So get excited, remove the stuff up our upper lip, and allow the collapse to happen so that clarity can ensue. And then be willing to ask for help on your way so that you have somebody. There are people who are ahead of you on the path. And that's part of what why I love Delphi so much. People are ahead of you on the path, looking and reaching back a hand. We're not reaching back our hand for everybody. We're reaching back our hand for the people that want to get up and walk and choose to discover themselves and remember who they really truly are. So how cool is that?
I think it's amazingly cool.
So, and there we go. I think that we had it's our official first show. There
Yay!
you go. Yay! Oh. Double high five, baby. Double high five. So there you go. There you have it, everybody. The one moment that changed our lives and expanded on the topic. So hopefully you can find some ease as you're transitioning on your path. Because if anything's happened this year for you, you're probably feeling some strife and some edge. So allow us to help you soften the edges. So thank you for joining us. Jinnie, anything that you want to add before we wrap?
Make sure you tune into us next week, Wednesday, same time. And we have some great topics, and we want you to start participating participating. Oh my goodness, that sounds like Medea. So I want you to start identifying some things that you would just like to ask us. And if, you want to put it in the chat box or send us questions in advance, let us know, because we want to support you on your journey, because it's hard enough out here by yourself. Tracy and I have done this kind of the hard way. We had some help, but you don't have to. You know, we've gone through this, so we can make it easier for the people who are starting their journey. And that's why we have, you know, this program. So please, you know, let us know how we can serve and support you so you can get through this with the ease and the grace that we know you deserve. So let us know, and make sure you tune in to us next week, girl. And
Yay! And you know what? Everybody
stuff.
follow us on Facebook, because we have a Facebook page. We have a Facebook group.
That's
That
right.
we would love for you to be involved in, that we could help aid your support on more of a daily basis. So not only please follow us on the show on Wednesdays, share it with your friends, because you know what? We're in abundance. We're an abundant realm, and we are in an abundant realm, and there is enough for everybody, including healing, growth, and success. So please share this with your friends and your peeps, and join us on Facebook so that we can continue to support you and stay connected with us here, because, well, we love that you're here. So thank you. Thank you, Jinnie. Mwah. Thank you for being here with me.
Back to you, Miss Tracy.
And everybody, thank you for being with us, because we so enjoy that you are here and that we get to share our knowledge with you and help you along the way. So mwah to you guys. See ya.
Bye.